The driver market this season is looking surprisingly lively, considering how much movement happened last year. A lot of talk this season is centered around Max Verstappen, a potential move to Mercedes, and a series of events that could be triggered by that. What happens to Russell or Antonelli at that point? What do Red Bull do with our top-tier driver for 2026? They are questions that will need to be answered if the Dutchman does leave, but that is all ifs and buts. What we do know is that Cadillac needs 2 drivers. So far, the team have kept their thoughts quiet on who they might hire. There have been rumors of Perez and Bottas, with the latter taking to social media to tease a move to the team, but nothing has happened so far. However, Cadillac team principal Graham Loudon has now gone on record with their short list of drivers, and one of his favorites for a seat is a huge shock. And today, I'll check it out, so don't go anywhere. It must be a busy time at the Cadillac offices at the moment. They have a very first F1 car to build, something that won't be an easy task. While Cadillac is a new team, the people who make up the team are hardly rookies to the sport. Team principal Graham Loudon has been actively involved in motorsport since the mid-1990s, and with his ties to the Virgin Group, he assisted Richard Branson in the founding of the Virgin F1 racing team that went on to become Marussia, then Manor. Loudon and Manor parted ways after the F1 team folded, and he went on to have a stint in the World Endurance Championship before joining the Cadillac F1 project. Taking on the role of Cadillac F1 Technical Director is Nick Chester, who has had a long history in Formula One beginning in the mid-1990s. Chester started at Simtech as a vehicle simulation researcher before moving to the Arrows Formula One team in 1995. His role evolved from vehicle simulation engineer to suspension designer to race engineer. After that, Chester headed to Benetton, Lotus and Renault, though in 2020 he made a move to Formula E, serving as a technical director first for Mercedes-Benz and later for McLaren. They also have an ace up their sleeves in the form of executive engineering consultant Pat Simmons. He has a long history at Benetton, including a stint in the mid-1990s as Michael Schumacher's race engineer, while also filling the role of head of research and development. He was executive director of engineering when Fernando Alonso won his championships with the team under the Renault name. He was then heavily involved in the Crashgate scandal, which ended his career as a full-time senior engineer in F1, instead returning as a consultant to Virgin after the Crashgate bans were overturned in 2010. He served as Formula One's chief technical officer from March 2017 until March 2024, meaning he had a massive influence on the technical regulations used in the ground effect era, as well as those that will be used next season. Of course, there are hundreds of other staff members working on this project, but the headline names are very impressive. The big missing piece for the team, though, are some drivers. There have been rumors, there have been predictions. Every F1 personality you can think of has created their own shortlist. Cadillac have kept relatively quiet though, going about their inquiries behind the scenes. That has now changed. In a recent interview, Graham Loudon confirmed talks with a mix of experienced names and rising talents, and one name in particular stood out as a surprise. Asked if former Haas driver Mick Schumacher is in contention, given he's been eager to make a comeback after switching to the World Endurance Championship with Alpine, Cadillac team principal Graham Loudon told the High Performance podcast, "Yeah, we are talking to Mick." Another serious candidate is believed to be 10-time Grand Prix winner Valtteri Bottas, who brings experience from 246 race starts with Williams, Mercedes and Alfa Romeo Sauber. "Yes, I know Valtteri really well," said Loudon about the Finn. However, Loudon made it clear that he's not looking for drivers who just want to come back to F1 to prove a point, insisting Cadillac has different expectations from its lineup. "I think they, talking about Schumacher and Bottas, have both proved a whole bunch of things," he explained. "Everyone wants to prove something else again. I never look at that as the biggest motivator. Our team is not there as a vehicle for someone to prove a point. Our team is there to provide a position on the pitch, if you like, for someone to prove what they can do for sure. But it's not a vehicle to kind of show the world to prove a point or whatever. Drivers are there to prove the best they possibly can for the team, and they should be motivated for the team around them as well. I'm less keen on people who kind of want to prove a personal point." Hearing Mick called out as a potential option will be a surprise to many. especially when Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez have been the frontrunners in most people's minds. In Bottas's 246 race starts, he has scored 1,797 points, stood on the podium 67 times, and won 10 races. He was also a huge part of Mercedes' Constructors' Championship wins between 2017 and 2021. Perez has 281 starts, 1,638 points scored, 39 podium finishes, and 6 wins. He helped Red Bull dominate the sport for the past 3 seasons. They are 2 incredibly experienced F1 drivers, proven race winners, and while neither could be considered a top-tier talent, they are both outstanding F1 drivers who can be relied on to perform. On the other hand, Mick Schumacher hasn't quite got the same pedigree. In his 43 race starts, he finished in the points twice for a total of 12 career points. He then spent a couple of seasons as Mercedes reserve driver. Toto Wolff did his best to sell him to the rest of the grid during those 2 seasons, but there weren't any takers. It is always worth saying that Mick's 2 seasons were spent at a Haas team who were at their worst. 2021 in particular was a difficult year, with the team having to forego any development for financial reasons. In 2022 though, he was never really a match for experienced teammate Kevin Magnussen. It wasn't that Mick was particularly bad, it's just that he didn't stand out as being particularly good either. Perhaps the weight of his surname meant he never lived up to expectations, but F1 teams know to look beyond that, and none of them saw anything during his Haas stint to suggest he was worth hiring. Mick has backed up what Graham Loudon said as well. But before I talk about that, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch more of the news and analysis from this year's F1 season, then make sure to press the like button and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot! So the Cadillac team principal's comments have catapulted Mick into a front runner for a seat in the new team, and Mick has backed that up with his own comments as well. At the end of last week, Schumacher claimed that his discussions with the Cadillac Formula One team have been very positive so far. Speaking to the Brazilian edition of Motorsport.com, Mick was asked about whether he is trying to get a seat back in F1 with the Cadillac team. Yes, of course, discussions are ongoing. The communication has been very positive so far, and they've already hired a fantastic number of people for it. It's an honor to be part of it, to negotiate with them, and a great position to be in. It seems that the discussions have impressed Loudon as well. He recently spoke to Sky Germany and gave a glowing review of Mick and his relationship with the team. Mick is great. He's a very nice guy. I like him a lot. I've got to know him better now. He's still young, but he already has Formula One experience. Of course, that was a while ago, but he's kept himself up to date. He's no stranger to the team. He knows where we stand. There are some positive things to say about Mick. He is clearly one of the drivers on the list, but I should also say that the list is quite long. Mick is going up against the likes of Bottas and Perez, as well as a bunch of less experienced drivers. In that interview with a High Performance podcast, Loudon also mentioned Felipe Drugovich, Frederik Vesti, Arvid Lindblad, and Colton Herta as potential options. There are also a number of current F1 drivers out of contract at the end of the season, including both Mercedes drivers, both the Racing Bull drivers, and Yuki Tsunoda. There is a lot of talk for Cadillac to do, and if despite all the options available, Mick is who they want to go with, then they must see something in him that they think is worth giving a shot. But what would you do? Do you think Mick is the right choice for the team? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.